Hello and welcome to The Law According to. In this episode, I'm joined by Jon Whettingsteel. Jon is a partner and head of family at Dutton Gregory Solicitors. Jon tells me how his first choice of career was actually catering, but he soon realised that wasn't a path he wanted to go down, and so law became almost like the second choice for him. He also talks about the challenges he had to overcome with imposter syndrome, along with some great advice he has for junior lawyers and legal professionals looking to progress in the sector. Please hit a like on this episode and subscribe to our channel to get notifications of when we release new episodes. This is The Law According to Jon Whettingsteel. Hello and welcome to The Law According to. I'm Mike Minnis of 2M Legal, and today I'm joined by Jon Whettingsteel. Jon is partner and head of family at Dutton Gregory. Jon, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for inviting me. Looking forward to it.
So this is the story of your career journey. So let's take it right back to the beginning. And how did it all start for you in legal, Jon?
Yeah, so legal wasn't my first choice of career, actually. I was planning to work towards catering, and I tried it when I was 15, and I just really didn't like it. I didn't get on with it. Don't know what it was. It just didn't have that spark for me. And that was when I was 15, and I thought, well, I don't know what to do now. For the last 5 years, that was what my path was. It was going to be catering. And I thought, oh, law's kind of interesting. I'll give that a go and see how I get on. And I just loved it. It was just, I knew at that point that was the career I wanted. I just found it fascinating, especially the family element. I just really found connecting with people really interesting. And then I was originally going to do a placement at Bournemouth University and ended up taking a year out for various reasons. And effectively, I thought, well, I'm just going to have to find a job for a year in a law firm and get myself a bit of an insight. So I just went through the phone book because it shows how old I am, and just wrote to every law firm I could find a cover letter, a CV saying I'm taking a year out before my degree. I just want to come and work in a law firm for a year. And I think I sent about 40 letters out, and I got 2 replies. So that was 2005, 2006, and I know law's only got more competitive since. So it was really difficult. And one of them said no, thank you, and one said, oh, actually, we were going to advertise for an office junior next week in the paper. So you saved us £10 in advertising fees. So come in for an interview. And they kept me on as an office junior. And then I did a bit of part-time work there while I was studying, because it was a couple of up the road from my university. And they kept me on as a trainee and kind of progressed through the ranks there. But for me, my career was sort of begun by being in the right place at the right time, really.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And so you mentioned about family, and the reason why you like that was due to the interactions with others. Was family kind of your first choice, or did you kind of try other areas first?
Yeah, I mean, I was very fortunate. The firm I did my training at was a small firm in Southampton, and because it was a small firm, my training was great because I just got a mix of everything. So they did a lot of family work, but there was criminal, wills and probate, commercial property, residential property. So I really there wasn't a set seat process like a lot of firms have. It was 2 years, go, just a mix of everything. So I did try it all, but I knew it was always going to be kind of family or criminal or that sort of court and litigation work, because I just really like dissecting and taking things apart and constructing arguments. I mean, if you ask my mum, she'll tell you that I've been arguing for years. I'm a professional at it.
So the law was a kind of, although it maybe wasn't your first choice, it was probably more of a natural calling for you.
I think so. I think you kind of get a feeling early on whether you're a contentious or a non-contentious person, not necessarily because you're argumentative. I think they're just very different skill sets, and I just think I would really struggle to do like commercial leases and sit there and wade through a 200-page lease. I think that doesn't kind of pique my excitement like going into court and advocating does.
Yeah. Okay. And so during those, obviously you mentioned about you sent out 40 letters, you got 2 responses, one was positive. What from that point, what were the main challenges that you faced in those early stages of your career? Have you lost me?
Sorry, Mike.
Okay.
There you go.
At what point did you lose me?
You said now 40 letters. So from that
Oh,
question.
yes. Okay. Okay. So yeah, so in those early days, you sent out 40 letters, got 2 responses, 1 positive. But from that moment forward, what were the main challenges you experienced in the early stages of your career?
I think for me, I was very grateful. I got to try everything, but I think you always get that imposter syndrome, and I think I still have it now. I mean, I'm very grateful. I'm very fortunate at Dutton Gregory. I've progressed up the ranks, and I'm an equity partner, and I'm the head of the family team. But I think there's always that imposter syndrome, and I know I do some mentoring for some of the junior lawyers in the firm, and there's always that worry that what if I'm not good enough? What if this isn't, what if I do something wrong, or what if this isn't the right career for me, or I'm not the right person for this job? I would say
You've had that throughout, have you?
Yeah, I think so. From the very day one, there's always that fear of, especially when you're going into law to start with, there's that fear of, oh my gosh, what if I get something wrong? And what if the SRA suddenly kick my door in and I'm struck off from day one and my career's over before it's even begun?
Yeah. Okay. And so, what do you do to overcome that? Do you have a particular support network, or is it just kind of like positive affirmations, or how do you get around that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I always say to people about the imposter syndrome is actually someone else thinks you're capable of doing that job. They've given you that job. They've hired you, so they have that faith and confidence in you. So you need to have it in yourself. And in relation to the SRA, it's difficult because you're always getting trained and told that you read in the Gazette about lawyers getting struck off for doing things. But actually, if you're in the right place, you have that support around you, and realizing it's okay to make mistakes. Everyone does. I've made mistakes in cases and things, but actually the best thing to do is to own up. And a lot of the times the problem comes where people are trying to hide a mistake or cover it up, and actually that's where you sort of get into problems. The thing we always try and press on staff at Dutton Gregory is that nothing is unfixable, and actually just if you've done something wrong, come up, say it, and it can be sorted.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, it's only when you kind of don't take ownership of those mistakes and try and ignore them, that's when they can become a pretty big issue, isn't it? Ultimately, we're all humans. We all make mistakes, don't we? Somewhere along the line.
Yeah, and every mistake is a learning opportunity, isn't it? At the end of the day, whether that's in your work life, your personal life, or in anything other part of your life.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, and so along the way, I imagine there's been many successes. What particularly jumps out at you as being things that you're particularly proud of that you've kind of won or you found as a success?
One of my biggest successes, I think, was I did my first hearing in the High Court in slippers. So I had my first case go to the High Court for an international parental order, and it was all very exciting. I thought, oh, this is great, my first trip to the High Court, and it was over the lockdown. And then the order came through and said it was going to be a video hearing on Teams. I was like, oh, it's kind of a shame. I'm not gonna go off to the High Court in London on my first case, and it's going to be a video hearing. But it meant I got to do it in some big fluffy slippers. So it was all suit from up and downstairs, and the feet was big fluffy warm slippers. So I guess there aren't many people that could say they did the first hearing in the High Court in slippers.
I'm intrigued by the big fluffy slippers. Kind of tell us more about them.
I mean, it was winter, so they're Marvel superhero ones. I've got a couple of small kids, so when you let your kids pick your fashion for you, you end up with what you get, don't you?
Yeah, amazing, absolutely amazing, brilliant. Yeah, there's not many people who can say that, is there? I suppose that was the nature of the beast, really, wasn't it? Over those kind of months or a year or so during COVID, it's kind of a lot of people would have, even now, where I work from home, I would generally have a shirt ready to go if I need to jump on a call. But other than that, it's kind of shorts and t-shirt most of the time, just because you need to be kind of fairly relaxed. And
Yeah, and I think I've learned that I always have a suit hung up in the office now. I got caught out with that, so I had a client who just basically instructed me last minute and said, "Oh, I've got this adjournment. Can you come onto this hearing and do this hearing urgently for me?" I was like, "Well, I can do It's a video hearing, but I haven't got any court clothing, so I'm just in my casuals because it was an admin day." And I remember joining the hearing and saying to the judge, "Oh, I'm really sorry, Judge. I'm not going to turn on my camera because I'm not appropriately dressed." And I thought I probably should have rephrased that differently, because he's probably got a different mindset to what not appropriately dressed means.
yeah.
So yeah, I always thought that from that moment on, always have a suit in the office just in case you get, asked to suddenly jump into an urgent hearing.
Yeah, always be prepared. It's always good to be prepared, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
So you say you obviously your first love was catering. Realised it wasn't for you. You then knew pretty much straight away, which is great at such a young age to know pretty much straight away that law was your career. What is it that you're really passionate about from a law perspective?
It's just never the same day twice. I mean, anything that involves working with people, and especially like family law, where you're involved in their lives. Every family is different. Their priorities are different. What they want to achieve is different, and their circumstances are different. So, although the law that governs it all is the same and it's set in statute and cases, actually, when you apply it to someone's circumstances, it's all going to be different. So, I think for me, it's never the same day twice, and it's also from a family law element. It's just making a difference to people. The thing I often tell junior lawyers or students when we do talks there is the thing that I still look back on the most fondest is sitting next to him, sitting in court next to a dad when he was told he was going to pick his child up from school and he hadn't seen him for 6 months and he was going to get his kid from school that day. And just the energy that radiated from him because he was just told that for the first time in 6 months he was going to see his son. It was, for me, that one moment, it was worth every difficult day I've ever had in the job just for that one moment.
Yeah, amazing. It's and I imagine that being a parent yourself, you could kind of certainly identify with how challenging that must have been for that person and the sheer joy they must have been feeling at that moment.
Yeah, and it had been a really long road, and for those 6 months they've been going through the court process, and they kept saying, "I'm just going to walk away. I can't handle it emotionally anymore. I'm finding it too difficult because there were knockbacks and setbacks." And I kept saying, "No, stick with it. You're doing the right thing, and you're doing it in the right way." And the court process is slow, frustratingly so sometimes because it's overburdened. And actually say to someone, "Look, this is the right way of doing things, and we'll get to payday eventually," and we did.
Yeah. Oh, good, amazing. So before we came on, we talked about kind of junior kind of legal people maybe feeling a little bit overwhelmed in the early stages of their career, or maybe questioning whether or not it's right for them this avenue. What sort of advice would you give, having progressed through your career and getting to the stage where you are now, overcoming some challenges, but also seeing a lot of success? What sort of advice would you give to them to help them kind of through maybe the challenges they're facing at the moment?
I would say try everything. I think there's that pressure, especially people coming into the profession of going, "Well, I don't know what area of law I want to practice in," and they feel that they need to have that career path. And for me, I knew it was family, but actually, I tried everything to know it was family. And I think people come in and go, "Well, I need to have an exact plan of my career and where I want to end up and what area of law I want to practice in." You don't actually, and it's best to try everything. And because of the nature of law anyway, if you're helping people, you may want to practice in family law, but it's good to have a knowledge of residential law and wills and trusts because it all crosses over. So I think I would say try everything, and also don't just think about high street law firms. If you want a career in law, there are so many different areas where you can get experience in law. So I often say to people, think of what your family do, and they go, "Oh, my mum works in retail." Well, okay, they must have probably an internal legal department. Check up with them. Don't forget in-house areas of law as well, or in-house jobs. And sometimes those are connections that you have that you don't realize you have.
Yeah, good advice. I like it. Excellent. Okay, well, thanks for sharing your story, John. If anybody would like to get in contact with you, how can they do that?
Yep. So you'll see I'm all over LinkedIn. So it's Jon Whettingsteel, and that's got all my contact details on there. Or Dutton Gregory, there's my contact details on through the website there as well. I can give my email address, but it's a long old email address. But I'd say the best way is probably just finding me on LinkedIn and then connecting with me on there.
Excellent. And if it's all right with you, we'll put a link to your LinkedIn in the comments.
Perfect. Sounds great.
Brilliant. Well, thanks very much, John. I really appreciate your time today, and thanks very much for your insights.
Pleasure. Thank you. And good luck to everyone who wants to go into law. It's a great job.